Have you ever been watching something and felt like you were missing just tiny bits of information? I mean, not enough that you didn't understand what was going on, but still that you felt it. I sat down to watch the Netflix original film, The Legacy of the Bones, and after seeing it, I found out that this was the second movie in a trilogy series, and I haven't watched the first. So does not seeing the first movie hamper the viewing experience of this one? Detective Amaya Salazar is called in to investigate a couple of cases that involve desecration of altars at churches with human bones. Then she soon discovers that these cases could have something in common with other cases that she's working on. Oh, and there might be supernatural elements at play here also. In the Spanish film, there are a few moments where we see characters, or we meet characters, and we don't really have any backstory to them. We don't have any introduction to them. They're just there. Or even some supporting characters who we feel that there are more to them. Like you know that there's something else with the relationship or just something else going on within there that it doesn't feel as full as it could be. Well, now knowing that this is the second movie of a trilogy, my guess is that those characters are introduced more and given more depth and just more development in the first one. But honestly, not having that, watching the second one first, just completely out of order, it didn't bother me that much. I mean, I did feel it was odd while I was watching it, but it didn't hamper the outcome of the story, and it didn't really even hurt that much. I just was kind of like, well, this is a little bit weird. Maybe I missed something, or maybe they'll explain it later in the film. And they didn't, but that's okay, because I was able to still keep up. I was still able to keep going. I think that's a good thing, that I can still not know who these people are in depth and still be able to click along right with everything. The acting in this is good, especially for Marta Itura, who plays Amaya. I mean, she's the star, she's the lead, she is the one who's carrying the film on her shoulders. And I looked at IMDb, and luckily they keep the same actress from the first movie to the second movie to the third one that will be coming out later. And I gotta say, there's a good amount of suspense in this as Amaya works to solve the cases and to just tackle all of the mysteries that are going on. And I felt myself sucked into them. I mean, I did feel that some of it was a little maybe not addressed, and maybe they were saving it, now I know, for the later, because as the film concludes, you know that another film is coming. But I like that there is the mystery. I like that there is the intrigue. And the thrills increase, especially in the third act. I mean, you really feel it begin to just ramp up. The urgency is there for Amaya to solve the case. There are a few points in the film where there are some flashbacks. And at the beginning, when they were first doing some flashbacks, I didn't know they were doing flashbacks. And so it pulled me out a little bit because I was confused at this jump and I didn't recognize any of the characters. And I thought, well, maybe it's just a different scene. And then I realized partway through that flashback that no, this is an actual flashback. Now, luckily, as they went on, it got easier and easier to tell when it was a flashback and when, I got more context, and so I wasn't pulled out as much. But those first couple of times, it was a bit jarring. This series is based on books, which I didn't read, but now knowing that this is the second of the trilogy series, I look to see, well, when is the third one coming out? It's coming out supposedly in 2020, at least in Spain, maybe even June-ish. So hopefully it will come to Netflix relatively soon, or maybe there's a different way for us all to see it. Maybe it comes out on video on demand or some other streaming platform. I don't know. My guess is Netflix is going to snatch it up because they have the first episode, which is on there right now, at least in the United States, called The Invisible Guardian. And then we have The Legacy of the Bones. So hopefully the third one will also come to Netflix, and then if you're waiting till you can watch all of them, then at least you could binge it all the way through, or you can watch it out of order like I did and watch number 2 first and then number 1 and then see how that goes. This being a crime thriller, there is some gritty and violent imagery that is shown. Now, luckily, the acts themselves are not necessarily shown. We just see the aftermath, but it doesn't change how graphic they are or just how disturbing they can be. Now, one thing that might frustrate you is that there is not a full resolution to every bit of the story going on. Now, we do get some answers and we do get some conclusions, but if you're looking for a completely wrapped up story standalone, then this isn't going to be it. I believe that in the third installment, the rest of the pieces that have yet to be fully solved will be resolved, and hopefully satisfactorily. The movie is 2 hours long and it moves. I mean, the drama is good. The thrills are there, but it's not nonstop. It allows us to be on this roller coaster ride kind of our emotions, where we're put into tense scenes and then we're pulled back and then we're expanded again and back and forth. It engaged me a lot because the mystery was always present, and I would eye all of these characters with just this air of suspicion, like, ooh, well, I think maybe you are leaning this way, or you're this, or you have something to do with this, especially because of how the movie begins, and it begins well in the past, and then we catch up to present time. And so that something is at play within the story. And like I said, there's also this supernatural aspect that could have a play in what is going on. And does that mean that there are supernatural forces going in? Or does that mean that people are calling upon supernatural forces, or they just have supernatural beliefs? Whatever that is, and I'm not going to spoil it for you here, but it also creates an air of mystery to a lot of the characters. Like, I found myself eyeing a lot of the characters with a different frame than I would had there not been this air of suspicion that could involve supernatural elements. So I think even if you haven't watched the first movie called The Invisible Guardian, that you can enjoy The Legacy of the Bones. Now, me personally, I am now going to go back and watch the first movie, and then I'll give you a review on that as well. And hopefully it will make even more sense, and it will make me like this movie even more. I mean, I enjoyed it. I had a fun time with it. Like I said, the thrills, the anxiety, the urgency, the mystery that everything was surrounding in this was really good. Then you have just the characters themselves. And Amaya, I like her a lot. I think she plays with a lot of depth, that she is vulnerable in a lot of situations, but she also has some strength there. Now, there are some things that kind of annoy me a little bit, but I think also that has to do with maybe some character development that came in the first one that gives me a little bit more insight into who she is as a person and what she's gone through, and maybe some of the circumstances or the relationships that she has in this one. There is sex, nudity, profanity, violence, and like I said, some graphic, violent imagery. I give The Legacy of the Bones 4 out of 5 couches. So are you going to watch this? And then are you going to watch it first, or are you going to watch it second? You're going to watch them in order? So just as a recap, The Invisible Guardian is the first movie. It is available on Netflix in the United States. The second movie, this movie that I'm reviewing, The Legacy of the Bones, movie 2, also on Netflix in the United States. So watch them in whichever order you want, but let me know which order you're going to watch them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for catching with me.